I mean, if you have a coming out as a lesbian, for example, then at some point you have to deal with your sexuality if you want it or not.
Yes, you have to think about. Also, as a woman, you have to think about what do I want, what is acceptable for me and what's not. And heterosexual men just kind of don't have to think about that. Sexuality is normed to them, even though this can't be fun, right? This can't be everything, but they don't think about it. Then also, who am I to judge? Since I had one heterosexual man. I had only sex with one heterosexual man. So if you have to say, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, I'm asexual, I don't know, then other identities, like trans identities, non-binary people, they all have to think about themselves and their identity and what kind of desire do they have. They have to think about desire. And then they have to position themselves. I mean, I had to tell someone what I desire. This was not just a lesbian identity. It was, I had to tell, whenever I say to someone, I'm a lesbian, I talk about desire. It's not just something easy peasy about me. It's, I have to talk about very intimate. Always in the statements, I am a lesbian is a very intimate statement about what I desire. That exposes me.
Well, I had a relationship first with a man for about 7 years. How old was I? 19, 20, something. Because for me, I didn't know the concept of being a lesbian. I mean, it was just, I grew up in a very, very small village, so it was just, it's like you're not afraid of a pink elephant because you think pink elephant doesn't exist. So it's about the same. So I had this relationship with this man, and actually it was a good relationship, also in looking at the sexuality. But when I look back, actually I was always in a way attracted, I felt attracted to women. It was, when I look back, it was pretty obvious. And during my school time also I struggled a lot with that because I didn't get all these games between boys and girls, and because I was out of the game in a way, because I didn't feel attracted to the boys, and what was between boys and girls I simply didn't get. So once I realized that actually I feel attracted to women, it was kind of a relief to me because a lot of things made sense to me. So I went out, I was super happy, I told my friends, my family, hey, I finally found out I'm into women. And then I was shocked because my friends and my family, they were super like, this cannot be, this must be a phase, this, you just had a bad experience, whatever. And so actually my coming out was not difficult. It was difficult because I realized all the people around, they simply don't get it, they don't agree with it. But for me personally, it was never a problem. A lot of lesbians, they have first a relationship with a man and then everything is bad about this relationship. I never had that feeling. I just thought I don't know, something ended. This coming out for me was really, I think it was a good thing. I stood up for myself. I learned a lot about myself, and I learned to stand up for myself. It was around the age of 27.
I apparently identified as a lesbian at the age of 12. I do not remember that. I thought it was at around 14. It did not become relevant until 17. When I did all the coming out things, like seriously, apparently I did it at 12. I apparently was at the bus stop and just announced to the people that were there. A friend told me that. And I just explained to them, this is all because I'm a lesbian. But I do not remember that story, so we should ask that friend. I only know that since October last year. So, and it became relevant to me at around the age 16, 17, and then I had support groups. And I never actually had a big problem with that. It was just, I identified as a lesbian and then I lived as a lesbian. And that was it. And what I did realize only a few months ago is that whenever I do come out in new groups, with new people that I never met before, when I do come out as a lesbian, especially heterosexual men are like, that explains it. And I'm like, what does it explain? And it's like that you're not like a typical woman. And so I thought recently, maybe that identifying as a lesbian is a way to explain them something. It is an explanation or an identification for the others, because it explains their view of me. Does it explain me? Am I a lesbian? Or is that just one way to explain my otherness? Could be. I found a word that explains otherness well enough so I will not be bothered anymore with anything. Right now I would not identify as a lesbian. Right now I would more identify as like pansexual, because I actually don't care. It is just people and they're all interesting. But also that does not bother me. So I would say now, like, I'm maybe pansexual, and maybe in 2 or 3 years I'm something else. Why should that not change and shift and be fluid? So I never had to think about, do I identify as a woman? I just got the body of one. And it is apparent, as you can clearly read me as a woman. It's not a problem. My body's not anywhere in between. But did I ever feel as a woman? I don't bother me. So I never struggled with that. But as a child, for example, I was a boy.
You were
I
a boy.
identified as a boy. But I had short hair, and I wore boys' clothes, and sometimes I even named myself with boys' names. But then that just faded away, and I was not unhappy about it fading away. It was not taken from me, But maybe it's still something is still here. So, like right now, I'm just waiting and see what happens. I don't think that I identify as trans. So I do not think that I'm kind of a woman, but I think I am a man. I would expect more like, this is just all fluid, just whatever.
My family was so traditional Swiss. So father, mother, 2 sisters, all heterosexual, very, very normal in this sense. I don't know why I'm that different in this sense. I have no clue. I had a good childhood, but yeah, my family is in this sense, well, also in a lot of other sense, they're very different. So I don't know if I was just, sometimes I think I'm just a rebel. I wanted to do something else. I wanted to be someone else. But actually I don't know. And then suddenly I realized that I'm actually into women.
I do have an older brother who's gay. And I grew up with my brother and my father. So you could actually point any weird stuff that I developed on that situation, because 30 years ago, nobody lived only with the father. As long as the mother wasn't dead or like in a psych ward or something like that. So my mother's neither. This was just their arrangement. So I could point it to that, but I actually never did. My brother's 10 years older than me, so when all that things became relevant for me, he was long gone. So I was 10 years old. Then, not 12. At the age of 12 I knew, apparently, but not at the age of 10. So I don't know, I never pointed it to, or I never thought about, was it maybe my family constellation that influenced my sexuality? It probably did. It probably did. But I couldn't pinpoint it. All the struggles I had was with how I see myself, especially the picture I have of my own body, so my appearance. That is like a huge stone I just carry with me for no good reason. And then I just recently realized, like, fuck that, why do I carry that? I always have this feeling of, like, I'm like the weirdest animal, just some parts put together. Like this nobody can think that is like something you want to have sex with. Extremely weird self-consciousness. Not a healthy self-consciousness. Of course, the people I was with, they liked me and they did not see my body the way I did, and they wanted me, and they had all those feeling of want to be close, and I was like, no, because I could not be touched. That felt so weird to me. So that probably broke a lot of my relationships with people. I never had a problem, for example, to just fuck them. Like strangers. I could have sex with strangers, no problem at all. But the better I know people and the better I like them, the harder it gets. Intimacy makes sex harder for me. This feeling of, please don't touch me because I'm ugly, this does not come anymore. It's just like gone. I don't know exactly why that is, but I appreciate it. I'm very happy. It is kind of gone. This is very hard. I hurt a lot of people. With that. My own pain, and then I just shoved it onto others and could not believe when they told me, I see you completely different.
I had 1-2 affairs with women, and then pretty soon I went into a relationship with a woman, and I stayed with her for 10 years. And it's a bit what you said, it was great sex at the beginning. Well, great, it was good sex at the beginning, and then it got very cozy and everything, very secure, but I didn't feel unhappy in this sense. But I think at some point I was just bored, and then we broke up, and I was for 3 years I was single, and during this time I had not 2-3 affairs maybe. One great sex. So and then I met her. And since then, 7 years? We were not bored. Sexually wise, yes. Yes.
Because I did the retrieving thing again.
Exactly.
The dying.
And that was rather difficult for me, because I came from a relationship that sex was not a topic anymore, and in a way I was missing it. And then I met her, and then at the beginning we had good sex, I think, but then it dropped dramatically. Yeah, in a way it was kind of and I don't know, until then I thought I'm not the person that has an affair, because that's not really my thing. So long story short, but at some point I fell in love with someone, with another woman. I was completely torn. I always said I cannot decide, because I realized it's not about taking a decision, but I didn't know what it is. But then we started talking about it, and we started to figure it out. At the same, well, not same time, but a little bit later, you came up with your story and discovering your attractions also for men or other people, and then the whole thing got very, very complex. But we realized that we just have to grow up in a way, and to look what is going to happen, because as far as I understand, for you it was not the wish to break up and start with someone else. It was the wish of expanding, and that is the process we're in.
It was actually fun, because she like introduced us to the concept of an open relationship, and I was like, dear, we do not have an open relationship. Like, you fell in love. This is not about sex, this is about falling in love. So we are with the concept of polyamory. And I was like so shocked, because I don't know how, when she said that, I was like, oh my God, no, don't open my cage. Because when you open, I had like, I took time to build a cage for myself, and I kind of know how that cage works and how I work inside that cage. And then she was like, bam, opens the door, and I'm like, fuck, now I need to run. And this is so weird because my fear was not, she said I had a panicked, and she thought it is because she said like open relationship, and I was panicking because I would lose her, but I was panicking because I knew when that door is open, I will go out. And then what's gonna happen to me? What's gonna happen to us because I go out then? So I went out. We're here now. It's still good.